Left Hook Boxing Show, and the subject of today's show is Miguel Cotto. Now, I got a message from Neo Rybax asking me what I thought about a fight between Miguel Cotto and Manny Pacquiao. I will address that later in the show, but first of all, let's put first things first. Miguel Cotto has a fight upcoming on June 13th on HBO against Joshua Clottey. Now, there have been predictions already made on this fight by Ring Magazine and by Freddie Roach, and they feel like Cotto will come out with a close victory, albeit a tough victory against Joshua Clottey. I feel the same way. I feel that Cotto will win 8 of the 12 rounds. However, I feel like Clottey might put Cotto on the canvas one time. So I believe, though, that Cotto will rise off the canvas, come back, and win the victory. Like I say, a tough, hard-fought victory. I believe the scorecard will read 115-112 in favor of Cotto by unanimous decision. Now, you cannot talk about Miguel Cotto without talking about his one defeat, and a spectacular defeat it was against Antonio Margarito. Now, I know that there's been question brought about that defeat because of the fact that Antonio Margarito was found to have plaster on his glove wraps prior to his fight with Shane Mosley, but be that as it may, we don't know if he had those wraps against Cotto, and really it doesn't really matter. We may never know. Antonio Margarito and his trainer are probably the only ones that could give us a definitive answer on that. And like I say, it doesn't matter. The fact remains that Miguel Cotto, although he fought gamely, although the fight was even on many people's scorecards when Cotto went down in the 11th round, the fact is that Cotto was a beaten man in that fight. You look at the pictures after that fight, and he is a picture of the agony of defeat. He had blood on his face. He had blood all over his body. And my friends, the blood was not Margarito's. It was his. Margarito put Cotto in a very dark place that I don't think he had been before. And for him to get back amongst the elite fighters, he is going to have to claw himself out of that deep hole that Margarito put him in. Now, he has already taken the first step. He is already climbing out of that deep hole. He fought a British fighter named Michael Jennings, and he did what he was supposed to do in that fight. He fought against an overmatched opponent. Although Jennings fought gamely, Cotto put him down in 4 rounds like he was supposed to, and I believe that is the first evidence that Cotto is on the comeback trail. Now, this test with Clottey is going to be a much, much tougher test. And if he gets past Clottey, I think you will say that Cotto has dug himself out of the hole and he is ready to take on Manny Pacquiao. Now, the thing that worries me about Cotto is this whole thing about his trainer. Now, I'm a firm believer that a trainer is just so important to a fighter. I don't care how good a fighter you are. You need a trainer that can look at your weaknesses and make them strengths, and you need a trainer who can look at your opponent's weaknesses and expose them. Now, you look at Manny Pacquiao's trainer and Freddie Roach. He does exactly that, as good as anybody in the game, and as a good fighter, you need that. Now, the thing that worries me about Cotto is that he fired his longtime trainer, Evangelista Cotto, his uncle. They had a disagreement, and it came to blows, fist fight, and Evangelista threw a brick through Miguel's car window. So you don't see him getting back together anytime soon, at least not for the upcoming fights. So this is a concern for Cotto. Now, he's hired a trainer named Joe Santiago, and I don't know much about Santiago other than what I've read, and that his background is in nutrition. I'm not saying anything about that. It's important for a fighter to come in good shape But that's not the most important thing, man. When you go to a fight, you need to have your tactics down. How are you going to approach the fight? How are you going to fight? What strategy are you going to take? And I don't know if Santiago, like I say, I don't know much about him. I don't know if he can provide Cotto with that expertise. Now, against somebody like Clottey, I don't know if he's going to need anything other than what he's already learned. But when he goes to fight somebody like Pacquiao, he has got to have a trainer that has looked at tape of Pacquiao and tried to expose some sort of weakness. And if he doesn't, man, he's going to be in trouble. So this is the way I see it going. If he fights Manny Pacquiao, I don't see anybody really. Mayweather certainly has a shot at beating Pacquiao. I'm not saying he wouldn't, but I'd still go with Pacquiao in that fight. I just don't see anybody beating Pacquiao right now. He is in the shape of his life. He has the skill level that is supreme, and that he has improved continually throughout his fights. He keeps getting better. He's in great health, and he's got a great trainer. And I think that is an unbeatable combination right now. I think Cotto would give him a competitive fight. Don't get me wrong. I believe Cotto is a great fighter, and I believe he would put up a game effort, but I believe that fight would go to Pacquiao by way of a stoppage by TKO or a knockout in round 7 or 8, and that's the way I see it. I like Miguel Cotto. I think he's a great fighter, and I believe that he is digging himself up from a deep hole, and I believe he will return to the elite ranks. And I don't know if he will get that fight with Pacquiao. Pacquiao is not going to fight many fights, but I believe he would be one of the contenders to fight Manny Pacquiao. And again, I think it would be a good fight. I would pay to see the fight, but I still see Pacquiao coming out on top on that fight. And that's my thoughts on Miguel Cotto and Manny Pacquiao. And for now, this is Renegade Rousey. I'm out. I hope you enjoyed the show.